When a woman lies to you, it never starts with the words she says. It begins with the silence between them. You can feel it long before you can explain it. It's that quiet ache in your chest, the one that tells you something is off, even though everything looks normal on the surface. And the worst part? It's not the lie itself that hurts. It's the way she suddenly feels like a stranger in a body you thought you understood. Because when a woman hides something, her entire emotional rhythm changes. Her eyes become softer in the wrong moments, sharper in the right ones, and her voice carries a tension she tries to disguise with a smile. You can sense the shift, but you can't quite name it. Not yet. Welcome to Female Code Unlocked, where we reveal the truths she'll never say out loud. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe because this channel isn't about surface level advice. Here, we dive into the emotional shadows, the psychology behind attraction, manipulation, desire, and everything she hopes you never learn. Now breathe, and let's begin. You see, the hardest part about detecting a lie from a woman you care about is that your heart wants her to be innocent, while your intuition whispers that she's not. And when those two parts of you fight, your mind becomes a battlefield. That's why you need questions, but not ordinary questions. Questions that peel back her emotional armor. Questions that force her truth to reveal itself without her realizing it. And each one must be crafted carefully, because the moment you ask a woman something that corners her, she won't tell you the truth. She'll tell you the version that protects her. So the real strategy isn't confrontation, it's psychology. You ask her things that guide her deeper into her own story, where lies are harder to maintain because lies are fragile. They need rehearsing, they need consistency. And the moment she has to think instead of feel, the mask slips. That's where your power lies. Not in aggression, not in anger, but in emotional observation. Watching the changes in tone, the pauses, the contradictions, the emotional mismatches that only show up when someone is hiding something from you. Imagine sitting across from her, maybe in the car, maybe on the edge of the bed late at night. You ask her something simple, but the air thickens. Her eyes shift just slightly. Her breath shortens. She blinks too slowly or too fast. She starts using extra words, unnecessary explanations, or suddenly becomes too calm. The kind of calm that isn't natural but controlled. That's the psychology of a hidden truth. A woman might lie with her words, but she exposes herself with her emotions. And the questions I'm about to give you, they aren't the kind she can prepare for. They don't attack her. They reveal her. They force her mind and emotions to collide. Because when someone is honest, their story flows. It breathes. It feels alive. But when someone is lying, the story becomes stiff, hollow, and disconnected from emotional reality. But before you ask anything, remember this. You're not interrogating her. You're observing her. You're reading the vibration of her emotions, not just the language of her mouth. Because every woman, even the best liar, cannot hide the truth when you learn how to decode her emotional inconsistencies. And the first question, the most powerful one, is the one that exposes the gap between what she wants you to believe and what she actually feels. The moment you ask it, you'll watch her entire emotional system recalibrate. And that's when the truth begins to reveal itself. When you look into her eyes and ask, "Are you okay?" You're not asking about her mood. You're testing the emotional alignment of her truth. Because a woman who's being honest will answer from her heart, instantly, naturally, without hesitation. But a woman who's lying, her mind needs time to construct an emotion she doesn't actually feel. Her "I'm fine" becomes too soft, or too sharp, or too perfectly placed, like she practiced it on the walk over to you. And in that tiny delay, that flicker of emotional static, you hear the truth she's trying so hard to mute. You see, a lie always begins with emotional misalignment, not verbal inconsistency. Her feelings and her story won't match, and that mismatch is your first clue. The second question is where her mask starts to slip. It's when you calmly ask, "Can you walk me through what happened in your own words?" You're not doubting her. You're inviting her to tell her story. But here's the dark psychology behind it. Liars rehearse events, not emotions. They practice facts, not feelings. So when you ask her to explain something naturally, you're forcing her to leave the script. Suddenly, she has to create a story on the spot, and the cracks appear. Her timeline may shift, her details may change. She may over-explain or under-explain. A truthful woman remembers moments. A lying woman remembers excuses. And as she speaks, you're not listening for the story. You're listening for the struggle. But the third question, this one tests her emotional relationship with the situation. You ask, what made you feel that way? A liar can imitate actions, but she cannot imitate emotional cause and effect. Why? Because real emotions follow a natural logic. Something specific hurt her, bothered her, confused her. But fake emotions, they float without roots. So when you ask this question, a lying woman scrambles. She may get vague. She may try to recycle words you used earlier. She may suddenly act frustrated, not because she's hurt, but because she feels exposed. And you'll see it, the shift in her posture, the tightening of her jaw, the way she crosses her arms as if protecting the lie tucked beneath her ribs. The fourth question is disarming, gentle, unexpected, and brutal in what it reveals. You ask, what do you think I'm feeling right now? A woman who's telling the truth will reflect your emotions back to you because she's connected to your emotional presence. She can sense your worry, confusion, silence. But a woman who's lying, she becomes emotionally blind. She guesses. She projects. She tries to steer the moment rather than feel it. Because in that moment, she's not with you emotionally. She's inside her own mind, managing the lie. And that disconnect is unmistakable. But the fifth question, this is where everything shifts. If I asked you this again tomorrow, would your answer be exactly the same? It sounds simple, almost harmless, but it forces her into long-term emotional consistency. Something lies can't survive. A lie is built for the moment. It collapses under the weight of time. And the second you ask this, you'll see her pulse spike in her throat, her breathing shift. Her eyes shift sideways as she imagines tomorrow's version of the story. Honesty lives in real time. Lies live in panic. And then comes the final question, the one that reveals everything she hoped you wouldn't notice, the question that pulls truth from silence. And this last question isn't loud, aggressive, or confrontational. In fact, it's the quietest one. And because of that, it's the most dangerous. You look at her, calmly, steadily, and you ask, is there anything you're not telling me that you think I should know? This question hits her subconscious first. Before her mind can craft a response, her body reacts. Watch closely. A woman who's honest will meet your eyes with softness, even if she's scared or emotional. She'll breathe out, not in. She'll lean a little closer because honesty creates connection. Even her voice will carry warmth because truth doesn't make people pull away. It makes them open. But a woman who's lying, she'll glitch. A small flinch, a sudden swallow, a micro expression of fear before her face resets. Maybe she looks down. Maybe she looks away. Maybe she suddenly smiles, but the smile doesn't reach her eyes. Or she'll try to turn the question around. Why would you even think that? You even think. That's because this question bypasses her prepared story and goes straight into the vulnerable space she's trying to protect. It forces her to face the exact thing she's hiding. And emotionally, that's where her lie collapses. But here's where dark psychology becomes your real advantage. A lying woman will always reveal her truth, not when you pressure her, but when you give her space. Space forces her to confront her own guilt. Silence becomes louder than your words. She starts filling the silence, adding details you didn't ask for, justifying things that weren't questioned, or acting irritated because irritation is easier to fake than honesty. Meanwhile, you stay calm, non-reactive, almost unreadable. Because when she can't read you, she can't manipulate the emotional tone of the moment. And when she loses control of the emotional direction, she loses control of the lie. You're not trying to catch her. You're trying to understand her. But in that understanding, you gain a power she never expected, the power to see past her words and into her intentions. Remember something important. Women don't lie with the goal of hurting you. They lie to protect something, themselves, their image, the relationship, or another person. That doesn't make it right. But understanding it helps you read her without letting emotions cloud your judgment. These 6 questions aren't tools of confrontation. They're instruments of clarity. They expose the emotional truth she can't hide, even when her words say something different. Because the truth is this: a woman's honesty doesn't come from her mouth. It comes from her reactions, her pauses, her emotional consistency, her willingness to stay present instead of retreating into defensiveness or confusion. And now that you know how to decode her, you're no longer the man she can lie to easily. You're the man who pays attention. So now you know the 6 questions that pull the truth from her, that expose the lies she thought were hidden. But this isn't about suspicion or control. It's about understanding the emotional rhythm of the woman you care about, watching her carefully, asking with intention, observing without judgment. That's how you unlock the female code. The next time you feel that doubt in your chest, remember, it's not about catching her in a lie, it's about seeing her clearly. Because clarity brings power, and power brings freedom. Freedom from manipulation, from deception, and from emotional confusion. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we dive deeper into female psychology, emotional intelligence, and dark psychology every week. Don't just react to her words, understand her mind, unlock the code, and step into the truth.